David Bindi Hudson has been described as the ultimate storyteller, singer-songwriter, dancer, visual artist and actor. And in a couple of weeks' time, David is bringing his latest show, which is called From Campfire to Stage Light, to Toowoomba's Empire Theatre. From Campfire to Stage Light is a journey towards self-determination and Indigenous pride, as told through the life experience of this incredible performer. He's a well-known and loved cultural leader and global ambassador for Indigenous Australia, and he's done it all from the stage as a performer of traditional Aboriginal instruments like the didgeridoo, as a dancer and as a storyteller. And I sat down for a chat with David Bindi Hudson yesterday.
G'day mate, how you going? I'm thanks for your call, and I'm up here sitting on my veranda overlooking sunny Cairns in shorts and a t-shirt.
Well, to be honest, had I spoken to you 3 days ago, I'd be saying, well, that's I wish I was up there because it's freezing down here and I'm sitting in 3 layers. But today is actually unseasonably warm. But don't worry, when you get here, we'll be back to the Toowoomba of old, I can guarantee you.
No, I just thought I'd just rub that in there.
Yeah, thanks, mate. We need we don't need any more pain after last night's result, but we won't go there. We won't go there at all. David, you've given me an indication of this, of how busy you are creatively just before we started recording. You told me that, on 3 days off from your current tour with your show From Campfire to Stage Light, which is coming to the Empire Theatre, which I'll ask you about in a moment, but 3 days off and you're actually spending those preparing for another creative endeavour you've got coming up in terms of an art exhibition. But reading a bit of your background, this was in your blood. I mean, creative family, all of your extended family did something along creative lines. It was never going to be any different, was it?
No, look, I knew from a young kid that I wanted to be a performer in some form, and my mum was like, "Oh, come on, David, you got to go to college, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to become a teacher or a banker. You got to think, the white fellow way." Well, that's all well and good. I did go to teachers' college, but basically I had my first American trip in 1985, and after touring 6 weeks up and down the coast of California, I came back on the plane and I was like, you know what? I need to do something about this, because Americans sat down and listened to my message, and which was very positive. And now I want to go back home. And we wrote a letter, my wife and I, we wrote a letter to the education department. And all of a sudden, now I'm presenting a 1-hour cultural show at schools, all the way from the top of Australia, all the way down to the border of New South Wales.
Wow! And
that was probably the most a good turning point in my life, because it taught me how to to relate to kids on that level. Teach them how to, be kangaroos and emus, how to make fire, how to play a didgeridoo, etc. And then as time progressed in 1987, I was fortunate to be a co-founder of the Jabbergai Dance Theatre, which was a dance theatre in a little town called Kuranda, which is west of Cairns.
Yes, yeah.
And basically it's still in the Guinness Book of Records as the longest theatrical show in Australia's history.
Is that right?
Yep.
Wow. So how long is long? As it's still going now?
The Jabbergai Dance Theatre actually closed in 2021, but the cultural park is still open as we speak, not as a tourist attraction, but more for doing events and conferences and things like that. And back when we started Jabbergai back in '87, that was a major turning point as well, because cultural tourism was unheard of. There was always reef and rainforest, and we kept saying, well, there's the 2 R's. Well, why don't we add the other R in there? That's reef, rainforest, rock art. And I said rock art purely for the fact is that it's something cultural, and we want to educate fellow Australians that here we are living in this country of ours that has the world's oldest living culture in our own backyards, and we need to captivate that properly and start educating Aussies that we do live in a country that has a world's oldest living culture that still survives, and it's a living culture.
Mm.
And as time progressed, I was fortunate. I don't take the word fortunate too lightly. I was fortunate because when you surround yourself with positive people, you can establish whatever you want, your dreams and aspirations. And my aspirations was to be, a singer, dancer, performer, art, music. And probably in the early 80s, I was still doing performing, but I was doing more of corporate gigs, and
Right.
corporate gigs, and then doing my artwork, and doing my music. And my daughter, she was born in '93, so she inspired me again. So she taught me that I had to start diversifying, and so I started from schools. I went to the next sector, which was corporate markets, and at the same time educating us about our culture in Australia, and hence why my show is called From Campfire to Stage Light.
Yeah.
And it's basically a show where my folks were born and raised on a mission. The mission, Mona Mona mission, which is north of Kuranda, closed in 1960. So one of my things in the show is my folks is from a mission, and now I was a Murray man on a mission.
Yeah, David Bindi Hudson, the show From Campfire to Stage Light, coming to Toowoomba's Empire Theatre Sunday 14th of July at 3 p.m. Contact the box office for tickets, and we'll have some tickets to give away on the show in the next couple of weeks as well. I asked him at the end of the interview, and he shared this incredible story. I asked him, I'd noticed that his name appeared among his credits of films he'd appeared in. He had a bit part to play in a film called The Island of Dr. Moreau, which you might remember starred Marlon Brando and Val Kilmer, and was filmed in the north of the state. And I asked him about that, and this is what he said.
Having the opportunity to work with Marlon Brando was fantastic. And take aside the script and that sort of stuff, within 2 weeks, I got a phone. I tell the story. I got a phone call at home, and I picked up and said, "Oh, g'day," and the voice says, "Oh, good morning, David. Is that David Hudson?" I'm going, "Yes." He goes, "Hi, David, this is Marlon." I'm like, "Marlon who?" He goes, "Oh, it's Marlon Brando. I work with you." I'm like, what? I thought someone was setting me up, but it was Marlon Brando's ringing me to say that he's been given my music and he loves the didgeridoo. It's such a relaxing sound, rah, rah, rah. And I was like, wow, okay. So here I am chatting to this fella, and I work with him during the day, but I'm not as David Hudson. I'm as the bison man. I'm in a bison buffalo outfit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It takes an hour and a half of press every day. He has no idea what I look like under there.
No, that's right. He didn't even know whether you were Indigenous or what your background was or anything, I guess.
Exactly. And then I talked to the bloke, and I said, "Whilst I got you, mate, would you be interested in meeting my family up at a little place called Kuranda?" He says, "Love to do that." So here I am taking Marlon Brando up to my mum's place in Kuranda, meeting with the locals, meeting with my family, and I tell the story of how he's sitting on the grass talking to my uncles about movies and boxing, and my mum's cooked all this, traditional tuckers that I said to my mum, I said, "Mum, this bloke used to live in Pepieri, Tahiti, so he would be very familiar with eating, fish cooked in grated coconut milk and taros." And she said, "Oh, well, no worries." So she cooked up this big feed, and then she says, "All right, the mai's ready, the food's ready. All right, David." She starts, she's the eldest. You sit down there, David, and Cindy, you sit down there. And then she said, "Oh, Marlon, how old are you?" He goes, "Oh, Mrs. Hudson, I'm 78. She goes, "Well, I'm 80 years of age. You sit down there." "Yes, Mrs. Hudson."
Amazing. Later, he caught up with Marlon Brando in Los Angeles for this story.
And so I get to Los Angeles in 1997. I ring Carolyn up, his assistant, and she's like, "Oh, my goodness, David, he's going to be so excited." He organises a car. I go to his house in Mulholland. I'm sitting there. We're having a chat. And he says to me, "Oh, you got to play the didge for me, David." I'm going, "Yeah, no worries." So he goes and grabs me the didge.
Yeah.
And he says, wait, just wait for me, please. And I'm sitting there thinking, what the hell is he doing? What's going on now? And he goes out to his veranda and he yells out, hey, Jack, come here. And it was Jack Nicholson.
Oh, my goodness.
Jack walks in and I'm like, my mouth's open now. I'm like, what's going on here? And that's his neighbour.
That's amazing.
And I said, well, and yeah, like, as I'm telling you now, I'm looking at myself thinking, wow, here I am sitting in front of two extraordinary legends.
Yeah.
And I said to Jack Nicholson, I said, mate, one of my favourite movies is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Anyway, the three of us there drinking a cup of tea and I'm talking about Aboriginal culture.